Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Real History. I am your host, Jared Frederick, and I'm pleased to be here today at the World War II American Experience in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. If you are familiar with one of our good sister channels, the History Underground, this should be a museum that is familiar. But in this special holiday episode, we have the unique opportunity to blend both Hollywood history and military history together as we revisit a Christmas classic. In some of our previous episodes on Real History, we have of course revisited the classic Christmas film from 1946, It's a Wonderful Life, and we have a very unique relic from that movie. And here to tell us about it, we have Adam Buck, who is from the museum. So Adam, thanks so much for talking with us on this episode.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
Tell us about this wonderful vehicle that's sitting here behind us.
So we're very excited to have this vehicle on display here. It's a 1936 DeSoto Airstream taxi cab, and it belonged to a company called Pacific Auto Rentals in California from the time it was new through the 80s, mid-80s, early 90s. And Pacific Auto Rentals was one of the foremost auto rental companies at that time for Hollywood. And if you remember in It's a Wonderful Life, the Duesenberg town car that Sam Wainwright rides into the new development in, that car was also part of their collection. And the cab was in probably about 40 different movies under that company's ownership. And what's interesting is it then went into collectors' hands, into a good friend of ours' collection, Mark Smith, who had probably one of the most interesting and extensive collection of unrestored automobiles and automobilia. And that is where we first saw the car and heard about its history. And it is here now on display through the end of the holiday season. And the story of how it came here is pretty interesting. Unfortunately, Mark Smith passed away. Now, before he passed, he had agreed to loan the vehicle to the museum to display. And we were fortunate enough to meet a gentleman at his estate auction who agreed to loan the vehicle to the museum for 10 years if we did not duel against him at the auction. So not only did a good friendship formulate, but also the cab is here on display for the public to see, probably in the first time ever since it was in a movie. And it's in unrestored condition, which we like very much because vehicles and items that are in unrestored condition tell a story. And this one has many stories to tell because it was in many different movies.
There's a special resonance with It's a Wonderful Life because many people may not think of it this way, but in so many regards it is a World War II movie. And it takes a look at a different element of World War II, and that's the experiences of the home front.
Absolutely.
Not everybody can go off and serve. And of course, too, for both Jimmy Stewart and director Frank Capra, making this film was a means for them to cope with all of the hardship that they had just endured in the Second World War.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like you said, Jimmy Stewart had just come back from World War II in the 445th Bomb Group, part of the 8th Air Force, flying B-24s. And a connection to that, we had a local veteran, Clem Leone, who actually was in the 445th and even flew a mission with Jimmy Stewart at the controls of the plane. So a pretty cool tie-in. And you see a lot of the World War II theme in the movie, obviously, as it took place in that time. Everything from a World War II Jeep to a Sherman tank that Jimmy Stewart stands upon when they're doing the war bond drive.
And another fun little nugget that appears in the film, in some of the final scenes of the movie, it's hinted that Ernie, the taxi driver of this vehicle, he's wearing an old uniform shirt for the U.S. Army Air Forces, and so it's presumed that Ernie gave up this hardware and perhaps operated something a little bit bigger during the World War II years itself. And the actor who played him was Frank Phelan, who was a wonderful bit character actor of the 1930s through the 1960s. But this is certainly one of his more standout roles. And of course, there's Bert the Cop, which leads to the urban legend of the Bert and Ernie off Sesame Street. Their names derive from these beloved characters in this Christmas classic.
Right. And if you remember in the movie, in the later part of the movie when George Bailey does not exist, there's a scene where he rides in this cab to his home. He says to Ernie to take him home. And Ernie immediately gets the attention of Bert the cop, slaps the side of the taxi cab door, says this guy is crazy. And that is when you see the DeSoto here. The earlier part of the movie, that was a GMC taxi, probably about 10 years earlier than this cab you see here. So kind of neat that the car was in the more integral part of the movie.
Absolutely. Pivotal moments of realization, both on both ends of George Bailey's alternative lifestyle that's presented in the film.
Right.
Well, before we head out, please tell our viewers a little bit more about your museum and what else they might be able to see here beyond the holiday delights that we see here behind us.
So when folks come into the lobby here, they will see kind of a nostalgic Christmas wonderland, from World War II era Lionel train setup to different toys, the taxi cab, and also a 1914 Dodge touring car that's very similar to the 1919 that George Bailey crashed into the oldest tree in Pottersville. Along with the exhibit here at the World War II American Experience, everything from home front items to D-Day artifacts, lots of vehicles, Sherman tanks, the vehicles that also kept that equipment operational behind the lines. That was just as important. Machine shop trucks, engineering equipment, kind of bringing it all together here, both on the battlefront and the home front. The Christmas display will be up now through the new year, so every weekend we'll be here running the trains, and we're open every day except Tuesday and Wednesday.
That's wonderful. And if you are interested in the 1940s, this is most definitely a place that you have to put on your list. Now, Adam, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jared,
for speaking with us. Thank you likewise to all of you tuning in. We'll see you next time on Real History, and happy holidays. If you're looking to commemorate It's a Wonderful Life or other historical films that we've taken a look at here on Real History, we also invite you to check out our Teespring store, where you can get nice commemorative swag like this with a lot of wit and charm. So that's a great way to support our channel, and we welcome you to check it out.